Design. Okay, hi, my name is Matt Burgess,
Hello, I'm Emily Harris.
and we're both grade 6 teachers at Willow Street Public School. So, just a background, we have about 60% ELLs in our classroom, and the purpose of this presentation today is to share with you how we decided to use collaborative inquiry to tackle some of the issues that we were seeing.
Absolutely. So we followed a collaborative inquiry model, and it has 6 steps to it. So we thought we would run you through each of the steps first and kind of show you the framework that we were using.
Right. So we based this on the capacity building series, which is through the Ministry of Education. So the first step, we designed our own model. The first step is observation, which is here. And the next is reflection, followed by research, planning, and then to set it all in motion. And then that's a leaf. That means starting it anew, or starting again.
Throwing our
Ideas.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So how we did it, we start off the first month in October making some observations of basically collecting data of what we were going to look at. So
what we're noticing.
Yeah. And we had regular meetings sort of informally. We noticed that a lot of our students, we didn't have a great sense of cohesiveness in this year, and we had low literacy scores. So in our initial readings, we found out about identity texts, and we were wondering how can teachers use identity texts to promote literacy and a sense of identity in step 1 and 2 English language learners.
Right, so within our group of English language learners, we had 2 distinct groups that had different needs, but also had some similar needs as well. So one of the groups, there were students that were refugees with significant gaps in their schooling, and they're part of the ELD program at our school. And then we have another group of ELL students who have strong literacy skills in their L1s, but are still developing their English skills. And a similarity between both of the groups is that they speak minimal English at home.
So we noticed that one of the challenges to student learning was that ELL students struggle with the writing portion of the tests, particularly writing narratives.
Kind of that structure of having a beginning, middle, end was a pinpointed struggle.
Yeah. So all of this background led us to formulate and consolidate this big inquiry question: is how can we support literacy development with this group of students using identity texts? So based on our background research, this is what we decided to look into and implement into our practice. So some barriers that we noticed to our own inquiry as teachers.
Yes. One of them was a little bit of a lack of collegial support for literacy initiatives specifically, and this is sort of in the context of low math scores, so some teachers feeling like that should be more the focus. Another struggle was just kind of a general lack of interest in writing at the beginning of the year with some of our students.
They didn't see themselves as writers.
Yeah, they weren't confident in their writing. And then the other challenge too is that our students are in grade 6, so they're kind of at that, preteen age. We wanted to support their literacy development without babying them and having them reading texts that are targeted for younger learners. We wanted them to have empowering tasks that would help them develop their literacy.
Yeah. So some supports and strategies. One, students can write their own personal narratives and identity texts, and also students should use relevant narratives for their age. So we brought in teenage beginner books for. There's some teachers in the Peel board that have written some really good books, that are suited to teenagers but have more beginning language.
Things like getting a cell phone or like bullying, things that are like more preteen topics.
Totally. Okay, so here's the research we found about personal narrative writing. First of all, we found our research led us to this textbook, Big Ideas for Expanding Minds, Jim Cummins and Margaret Earley. And they really push identity narratives, not just for developing narrative writing skills, but also creating community in your classroom and a sense of identity for ELLs, which is really important.
Yeah, and a lot of the research was showing that personal narrative writing and identity text is a great UDL strategy because many students in the class are benefiting from this, processing their lived experiences, feeling less alone, and what they've gone through, giving them a voice and helping them develop their self-expression, their self-esteem, their decision-making, cognitive process, and all those great things.
Yep. So what we found from this inquiry and implementing this into our own practices is that having our students use identity text helps us see an increase in literacy skills, and a sense of belonging in the classroom community. We saw a rise in self-esteem and pride in the students' diverse identities.
And a lot of this stems from the fact that there's kind of two parts to identity text. There's the part where you're writing, and there's kind of that independent task, and then there's the sharing of it and kind of hearing other people's perspectives, having to be vulnerable with another person, and have the confidence to share your writing, and that was a challenge for some of our students for sure.
Totally.
But it helped them grow so much.
But yeah, and creating the safe space in our class to do that was really beneficial. So now you will see that in the box in front of you on the table, there is a series of objects, and what we're going to do is actually lead you through the activity that we did with our students to scaffold up to the creating of identity narratives.
Because that's one of the things we wanted to point out, is that you don't want to just say to a student, okay, now write the whole story of your life, because that's overwhelming for anybody, let alone a student. So we want to kind of scaffold things so that we're picking something small, like an object, having them write about a memory associated with it or something they identify with it, and kind of building from there.
So obviously you don't have time to go get something from home, so you can choose an object. So what you'll do is pick the object and then turn to your elbow buddy and share for about a minute why you chose that object and how it represents you. So getting into telling a bit of a story. So that'll happen. And then, okay.
So another thing we found in the research was the use of technology. And there are a lot of amazing apps out there that can be used to augment student writing and personal narrative writing, identity text. So for us as grade 6 teachers at our school, we had access to iPads, which was wonderful for our ELL students and just for differentiating for a couple students in our classes with learning disabilities. And we wanted to let you know about it so you could explore it too. So there's a couple of apps we would recommend. So the first one you'll see here is Storybird, and it's wonderful for collecting images. There's a word bank that you can put text with pictures as well. We also recommend using iMovie, which may be familiar to some students. It's a pretty user-friendly video creation tool. And then there's also the old-fashioned way of using paper and pencil crayons. We have a couple examples of student work. Here, a student used the computer to type out his narrative. He created a dual language text, so he has another language here that he's handwritten, and then there's also a photo. Here's another option. This student created work with plasticine, and then they used Read Write Gold, which is a downloadable piece of software to create a narration to go along with it. This is a video that another group of students made. I'm not sure what video creation tool they used. It could have been maybe iMovie, and they used some artwork. So there's a ton of different ways you can create personal narratives as digital storytelling as well, which can be really engaging for students. And if you'd like more examples of these, there are some great dual language texts at this website and some digital stories on this website.
So some essential practices that we wanted to cultivate in our classroom, you can read it here, but a growth mindset and a culture of learning and sharing.
They're really important. And really fostering a community of empathetic and compassionate feedback, because the thing about the feedback is you're giving the feedback on writing, but you're also giving them feedback on things that they've lived through. So when you're telling them like what they've done well and what they've done wrong, you also want to adjust like the content as well as the format of how they've written it.
Totally. So one quote that we found kind of in our readings that really sums up our experience, philosophy of doing this, and what we learned is that is from Alan Rickman. It's that it's a human need to be told stories. The more we're governed by idiots who have no control over our destinies the more we need to tell stories to each other about who we are, why we are, where we come from, and what might be possible. And we feel that we did that with our students.
we wanted to leave you with this quote too, to inspire you to be empowered and to empower your students and help them tell their stories and connect with each other.
Yep. Thank you for listening. So to recap, we were teaching grade 6. We wanted to use collaborative inquiry to address problems in our classroom. So we designed a 6-part process, which led us to trying identity texts with our students. And we totally found that it was beneficial to developing literacy and classroom sense of
Belonging. Community.
Yeah.
Really important things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And this was made with Screencast-O-Matic. That's
Yes,
another
Screencast-O-Matic.
Yeah, good
and
teaching
Google
tool.
Slides.
Google Slides. Never fails. Thank you.